Robin is a very successful woman. She doesn't need me for a damn thing. She's entrepreneurial. What?
I want you.
It's not every day you hear about the personal life of one of television's most famous personalities being thrown into chaos. Dr. Phil McGraw, the man millions look to for advice, has finally admitted something that left the world in utter disbelief. No one saw this coming. It was an explosion, a confession that sent shockwaves across the media landscape. Speculations arose, and the public was left scratching their heads asking, why now? Why did Dr. Phil make such a startling admission? Who is this woman he's talking about, and what was the nature of their relationship? These are the questions on everyone's lips, and today we're going to dive deep into the mystery that has everyone talking. So, sit tight, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to hear everything. Because what you're about to discover will change the way you see Dr. Phil forever. It all began on a rainy day in September 1950. That's right. Let's rewind the clock back to when this all started. Joseph McGraw Jr. was overjoyed when his wife, Anne, gave birth to their first son. This child was born on September 1, 1950 in Veneta, Oklahoma, and his name? Phil McGraw, now famously known as Dr. Phil. Little did anyone know that this bouncing baby boy would grow up to become one of America's most well-known TV personalities. As the only son, Dr. Phil was the pride of his father, especially growing up alongside his two older sisters, Deanna and Donna. A few years later, the McGraw family expanded with the birth of their youngest daughter, Brenda. The family didn't have it easy. They grew up in the oil fields of North Texas, where Joseph McGraw worked as an equipment supplier for the oil companies. At just 13, Dr. Phil began working at a local A&W root beer and a chain restaurant called Pizza Planet in Oklahoma City. But things weren't meant to stay that way. His father, Joseph, made a bold decision. He left his job to pursue his lifelong dream of becoming a psychologist, a decision that would forever alter the course of their family's lives. The family moved to Kansas, and Dr. Phil attended Shawnee Mission North High School in Overland Park. It was here that he began to make a name for himself, not just as a student, but as an athlete. He played linebacker on the high school football team and eventually earned a football scholarship to the University of Tulsa. But what happened next is where things take an interesting turn. In November 1968, Dr. Phil's football team was utterly destroyed in one of the most one-sided college football games in history. The University of Houston crushed them with a shocking score of 100-6, a record-breaking defeat that left everyone reeling. That loss marked the end of Dr. Phil's football career, but it wasn't the end of his ambitions. He transferred to Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, where he graduated in 1975 with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. But this wasn't enough for Dr. Phil. He had bigger dreams. In 1975, Dr. Phil earned his master's degree in experimental psychology from the University of North Texas. 3 years later, in 1978, he achieved his doctorate in clinical psychology, focusing on rheumatoid arthritis and psychological intervention. But here's the twist. He didn't stop there. He went on to receive postdoctoral training in forensic psychology at the Wilmington Institute. And here's where it gets even more interesting. His doctoral advisor was none other than Frank Lawless, who would later become a key psychologist on Dr. Phil's television show. From here, Dr. Phil's career exploded. He joined his father in Wichita Falls, Texas, where Joseph McGraw had achieved his dream of becoming a psychologist and even opened his own private psychology lab. Dr. Phil had inherited his father's determination and work ethic. In 1985, he and his father teamed up with businesswoman Thelma Box to launch a self-help seminar series called Pathways. This venture lasted 5 years before Dr. Phil sold his share in 1991 for a whopping $325,000. That's not all. Dr. Phil co-founded a trial consulting firm called Courtroom Sciences, Inc. with lawyer Gary Dobbs, a move that would change his career trajectory forever. Now this is where things really start heating up. In the late 1990s, Dr. Phil's career took a significant leap when he crossed paths with none other than Oprah Winfrey. It was through his work with Courtroom Sciences, Inc. that Dr. Phil was brought onto Oprah's legal team to help her prepare for the infamous Amarillo beef trial in Texas. And Oprah was impressed. So much so that she invited him onto her show in 1998. What started as a single appearance turned into regular weekly segments, where Dr. Phil became a life strategist and relationship expert. His straightforward, no-nonsense approach won him legions of fans. But here's the twist. This newfound fame came with a price. It wasn't long before Dr. Phil started feeling the pressure. He wanted more. He wanted his own show. In 2002, Dr. Phil launched his own daily television show, aptly named The Dr. Phil Show. Oprah's Harpo Studios produced the show, and it was an instant hit. Millions of viewers tuned in to watch Dr. Phil address a wide range of topics, from relationship struggles to addiction to weight loss. With success came wealth. Dr. Phil secured a 5-year syndication deal worth $15 million annually, guaranteeing the continuation of his show from 2013 to 2014. But while his professional life was thriving, something was amiss in his personal life. In a shocking revelation, Dr. Phil admitted that his father, Joseph McGraw, had never expressed pride in him. Throughout his entire life, Dr. Phil never once heard his father say the words, "I'm proud of you." It wasn't until the night before Joseph McGraw passed away that he finally acknowledged Dr. Phil's potential. He predicted his son's future success, telling him, "The day is going to come when you're going to have the opportunity to speak to a lot of people." These words stuck with Dr. Phil, but the lack of praise throughout his life left a lasting wound. It's no wonder then that Dr. Phil's relationships with those close to him were often filled with tension, something we're about to explore in more detail. Now, here's the part that no one saw coming. The confession that Dr. Phil made at 74 years old left everyone reeling. Who is the woman he spoke of? What relationship did they share? And why has Dr. Phil been hiding his true feelings for so long? The woman in question? Debbie Higgins, Dr. Phil's first wife. You see, before Robin McGraw, the woman we've all seen by his side for decades, there was Debbie. And their marriage wasn't the fairy tale that Dr. Phil had hoped for. According to Debbie, Dr. Phil was a different man behind closed doors. She accused him of being controlling, of keeping her confined to domestic duties, and even instructing her to begin weightlifting to improve her physique. Debbie claimed that Dr. Phil had a wandering eye, and from the very beginning of their relationship, he was unfaithful. In a rare interview, Debbie Higgins laid it all bare. She explained that she had noticed Dr. Phil's flirtatious behavior while they were dating, but she chose to ignore it, thinking that marriage would change him. She believed that once they were officially husband and wife, Dr. Phil would become the loving, faithful partner she had always dreamed of. But that's not what happened. Debbie revealed that Dr. Phil continued to cheat throughout their marriage, and after just 3 short years, she'd had enough. In 1973, Debbie filed for divorce, exposing the cracks in their relationship to the world. The revelation that Dr. Phil, a man who spent decades calling out cheaters on his show, had been unfaithful to his own wife, was a bombshell. It cast a shadow over his career and left many questioning his integrity. After the divorce, Dr. Phil didn't stay single for long. In 1976, he met Robin Jo Jameson, the woman who would become his second wife and eventually the co-star of his life, both on screen and off. Their relationship seemed perfect from the outside. Robin was always by Dr. Phil's side, appearing on his show to give advice and guidance, painting the picture of a perfect, supportive spouse. But while the cameras captured a united front, rumors swirled behind the scenes. Was everything as perfect as it seemed? Was this new marriage built on solid ground? Or was it another chapter in a life filled with secrets? Many believed that Robin and Dr. Phil had the ideal relationship. But a dark cloud loomed over their marriage, the Oprah rumors. Yes, Oprah Winfrey, the media mogul herself, became the subject of scandalous speculation. And this is where things get even more shocking. As Dr. Phil's fame grew, so did his relationship with Oprah Winfrey. It was Oprah who had given him his first big break after all. But the public couldn't help but notice how close the two had become over the years. Was their relationship purely professional, or was there something more? Rumors began circulating that Dr. Phil had secretly divorced Robin and was now romantically involved with Oprah. The media ran wild with these speculations, painting a scandalous picture of the psychologist who preached integrity and loyalty on his show. But Dr. Phil didn't stay silent for long. In an interview with Fox News, he publicly addressed the rumors, calling Oprah one of his dearest friends and firmly denying any romantic involvement. He emphasized that he and Robin were still very much together, and that these rumors were simply the media's way of trying to tear him down. And yet, despite his denials, the rumors persisted. The public was left wondering, was there any truth to the gossip? Could Dr. Phil's clean-cut image be hiding something more sinister? As if the rumors weren't enough, Dr. Phil also faced significant health challenges. For years, he had quietly battled type 2 diabetes, a condition that millions of Americans suffer from. But it wasn't just the disease itself that weighed on Dr. Phil. It was the stigma surrounding it. In an interview with Fox's Dr. Manny Alvarez, Dr. Phil opened up about the psychological toll that his diagnosis had taken on him. He explained how people often associate type 2 diabetes with laziness or poor lifestyle choices. But for Dr. Phil, the reality was much different. He was athletic, active, and hardworking, yet the disease had still found its way into his life. Despite these struggles, Dr. Phil didn't let his condition slow him down. He teamed up with AstraZeneca for a nationwide campaign called the On It movement, aimed at raising awareness and encouraging others to take action against the disease. But even as he worked to help others with their health, Dr. Phil's own health battles were compounded by a series of legal controversies. Over the years, he found himself entangled in various lawsuits and scandals, some of which threatened to damage his career beyond repair. One particularly damaging case involved allegations of unethical behavior on his show. Critics accused Dr. Phil of exploiting his guests for entertainment rather than genuinely helping them. The National Alliance on Mental Illness even went so far as to call his conduct unethical and irresponsible. And then there was the controversy surrounding his telehealth company, Doctor on Demand. Some critics accused Dr. Phil of creating the company not to help people, but to exploit them financially. Despite these accusations, the company grew rapidly, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when virtual healthcare became more critical than ever. Just when it seemed like Dr. Phil had weathered every storm, the biggest shock of all came in 2023. After more than 21 seasons, Dr. Phil made a stunning announcement. His beloved television show was coming to an end. The news sent fans into a frenzy. Why would Dr. Phil end the show that had made him a household name? Speculation ran wild. Some believed it was because of health concerns. Others thought it had something to do with his legal battles. And then there were those who blamed Robin. Was Robin McGraw the reason Dr. Phil decided to walk away from his show? Did their marriage, which had weathered so many storms, finally reach its breaking point? But Dr. Phil was quick to dismiss these rumors. He explained that the decision to end the show was entirely his own. He had grown tired of the daily grind and wanted to pursue new ventures, particularly Merit Street Media, a Fort Worth-based television network that would focus on news and true crime programming. But even as Dr. Phil tried to put the rumors to rest, many were left unconvinced. Could there be more to this story than he was letting on? Despite Dr. Phil's assurances that his marriage was solid, rumors of a potential divorce continued to swirl. And here's where things take another twist. According to insiders, Dr. Phil had allegedly confided in his son, Jay McGraw, about his plans to divorce Robin. While this rumor has never been confirmed, it has only added fuel to the fire surrounding the cancellation of the Dr. Phil show. Could it be that Dr. Phil and Robin's marriage wasn't as perfect as it seemed? Was the public persona they presented just a facade, hiding the cracks in their relationship? Robin had been a fixture on Dr. Phil's show for years, offering advice and support to women across the nation. But as the pressures of fame and success mounted, did their personal relationship suffer behind the scenes? Only time will tell if these rumors hold any truth. But one thing is certain. The end of the Dr. Phil show marks a turning point not just in Dr. Phil's career, but in his personal life as well. As the dust settles from the cancellation of the Dr. Phil show, fans are left wondering, what's next for Dr. Phil? With a net worth of $460 million, Dr. Phil is far from needing to worry about finances. But what about his legacy? Will his new ventures in television like Merit Street Media fill the void left by the end of his show? Or will Dr. Phil take a step back and focus on his personal life, especially the potential troubles brewing in his marriage? Many believe that Dr. Phil isn't done with television just yet. After all, he's spent decades building a brand around his name, and walking away from that entirely seems unlikely. But with the rumors of his marriage in turmoil and his health still a concern, there's no telling what the future holds for this iconic figure. Dr. Phil's close relationship with Oprah Winfrey has long been a source of public fascination. After all, it was Oprah who helped launch his career, giving him a platform on her show that led to his meteoric rise. But the media and the public couldn't help but wonder if their relationship went beyond mere friendship and professional collaboration. Rumors swirled for years, with some tabloids even suggesting that Dr. Phil and Oprah had been secretly involved in a romantic relationship. Could this explain why Robin McGraw, Dr. Phil's loyal wife, was sometimes seen as distant during his public appearances? Could the tension in his marriage stem from his close connection with the media queen? Dr. Phil, however, has always vehemently denied any romantic involvement with Oprah. In interviews, he has described her as one of his dearest friends, emphasizing that their bond is purely professional and based on mutual respect. But as with many things in the life of a celebrity, the rumors refuse to die down. Even now, whispers about Dr. Phil's connection to Oprah linger in certain corners of the media. And then there's Robin. For decades, Robin McGraw has been by Dr. Phil's side, both as his wife and as a co-host of sorts on his popular show. The couple appeared to have a rock-solid marriage, with Robin often joining Dr. Phil on camera to provide advice to viewers and share insights on relationships. But, as we all know, appearances can be deceiving. In recent years, speculation has mounted that Robin played a more significant role in the cancellation of the Dr. Phil show than anyone initially realized. Some media outlets have even gone as far as to suggest that Robin was growing tired of living in the shadow of her famous husband. Was Robin the driving force behind Dr. Phil's decision to step away from the show? Could their marriage have reached a breaking point behind closed doors? In interviews, Dr. Phil has always been quick to defend his wife, praising her for being his constant source of support throughout his career. He has flatly denied the idea that Robin wanted him to end the show, stating that she always saw the program as his way of giving back and helping people. But here's the twist. Some insiders claim that Robin's patience had worn thin. They suggest that after years of living in the public eye, Robin was ready for a quieter, more private life. The constant scrutiny, the rumors, and the relentless pace of filming could have taken their toll on the couple's relationship. Could it be that Robin quietly influenced Dr. Phil's decision to end his show? Not for the reasons he publicly stated, but because their marriage needed saving? When the news broke that the Dr. Phil show was ending after more than 2 decades on air, fans were stunned. For many viewers, Dr. Phil had become a household name, a trusted authority on everything from relationships to addiction and mental health to parenting. His no-nonsense approach to helping others had earned him millions of loyal followers. So, why did the show end so suddenly? The official explanation was that Dr. Phil wanted to explore new ventures, particularly his Merit Street Media television network. But fans weren't entirely convinced. Social media exploded with theories. Some believed that health concerns, both Dr. Phil's and Robin's, were the real reason for the show's abrupt conclusion. Others pointed to the rumors of marital strife, speculating that Dr. Phil was stepping away from the spotlight to focus on repairing his relationship with Robin. And then there were those who thought something darker was at play. Could the legal controversies and scandals that had followed Dr. Phil throughout his career finally be catching up with him? Was there a secret court case or lawsuit that had forced him to call it quits? Whatever the reason, fans were heartbroken. For many, the Dr. Phil show had become a fixture of daytime television, a place where difficult topics were discussed openly and honestly. The idea of no longer having Dr. Phil's guidance in their lives was a tough pill to swallow. While Dr. Phil built his career on helping others, his methods have not always been well received. Over the years, he has faced a barrage of criticism from both the mental health community and the public. Some have accused him of exploiting vulnerable guests for the sake of entertainment, rather than offering genuine psychological support. In one particularly controversial episode, Dr. Phil was accused of unethical behavior after inviting a troubled young woman onto his show. The National Alliance on Mental Illness condemned the episode, calling it exploitative and accusing Dr. Phil of making a spectacle of the guest's mental health struggles. Then there were the legal issues that plagued Dr. Phil. Over the years, he faced multiple lawsuits, some related to incidents on his show, while others involved his personal life. One of the most infamous legal battles occurred when Dr. Phil was sued by guests who claimed they were held against their will in his studio after filming an episode. Despite these controversies, Dr. Phil's popularity continued to grow. He had a way of bouncing back from criticism, always finding a way to maintain his audience's trust. But behind the scenes, the pressure of constantly defending his actions may have taken a toll on the man who had spent his career dissecting other people's problems. While Dr. Phil's professional life was filled with ups and downs, it was his personal life that truly caught the public's attention. And at the center of it all was his first wife, Debbie Higgins. As we mentioned earlier, Debbie and Dr. Phil's marriage was far from picture perfect. In fact, Debbie has publicly spoken about the many issues that plagued their relationship. According to her, Dr. Phil was controlling and unfaithful throughout their short marriage. But here's the bombshell. Dr. Phil, a man who spent years calling out cheaters and liars on his show, was himself accused of being unfaithful. Debbie claimed that Dr. Phil had a wandering eye long before they got married, but she had chosen to turn a blind eye to his behavior, hoping that marriage would change him. It didn't. Their marriage quickly fell apart, and by 1973, Debbie had had enough. She filed for divorce, accusing Dr. Phil of infidelity and control. The irony was not lost on the public. How could Dr. Phil preach integrity and loyalty when his own personal life was marked by betrayal? But here's where it gets even juicier. After divorcing Debbie, Dr. Phil quickly moved on and married Robin, the woman who would become his second wife. But rumors of infidelity didn't stop there. Over the years, there were whispers that Dr. Phil had been unfaithful to Robin as well, with some even suggesting that his close relationship with Oprah might have crossed a line. Could it be that the man who spent decades exposing other people's flaws was hiding secrets of his own? And now, at 74 years old, Dr. Phil has finally come clean about something he's kept hidden for years, a dark secret that has haunted him throughout his life. He hated her. That's right, Dr. Phil has admitted that he harbored hatred for a woman who once played a significant role in his life. And no, we're not talking about Robin or Oprah. The woman in question is none other than Debbie Higgins, his first wife. In a recent interview, Dr. Phil revealed that the pain and betrayal he felt during his marriage to Debbie left a deep scar on his heart. He admitted that for years he struggled with feelings of resentment and anger towards her. Despite the public persona he projected, the truth was much darker. Dr. Phil had never truly forgiven Debbie for the way their marriage ended. But why admit this now? Why, after all these years, has Dr. Phil finally chosen to open up about his hatred? Some believe that Dr. Phil's confession is part of a larger effort to rebuild his image in the wake of the end of his show. Others speculate that as Dr. Phil faces the twilight of his career, he is trying to come to terms with the mistakes and regrets of his past. Whatever the reason, this revelation has left fans in shock. Dr. Phil, America's trusted psychologist, has been hiding a deep personal grudge for decades. As Dr. Phil looks back on his career and personal life, one thing is clear: his legacy is complicated. He has helped millions of people, but he has also faced his share of criticism and controversy. He has built an empire, but he has also struggled with personal demons. Now, as Dr. Phil steps away from the spotlight, the world is left to wonder, what will his legacy be? Will he be remembered as a trusted voice in the world of psychology and daytime television? Or will the scandals and rumors that followed him tarnish his reputation? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: Dr. Phil's story is far from over.